Hello everyone, in this movie I will show you how to remove, refresh and also replace your alternator in the BMW 5 Series with the engine N47. So this is 2.0 diesel and basically why I'm doing it. I don't have any problems with the car, but this car is 13 years old and this is the brushes that they are in the alternator. So the problem is that over time they starting to get worn and they just getting smaller. So when they get too small, they stop passing electricity because they no longer touch the inner part of the alternator. So it is good to inspect this from time to time, because if by any chances your alternator will fail, then you don't charge your battery, which might damage it. I also had one situation, one of my friends have a gearbox which is automatic gearbox, and also alternator started to affect the gearbox. So there is a number of reasons why you should inspect your alternator just to make sure that everything is fine with it. So luckily for me and for you guys as well, with engine N47, the alternator, you're removing this from the top of the engine, so it's pretty easy and accessible. With M47 you have to do this from under the car, so it's slightly more complicated, and the job not gonna be really long, I will say. But if this is the first time when you're doing it, I would recommend for you to have some extra time. If by any chances your alternator will be in the bad condition, then you will have to sadly replace more parts, not just brushes. So this is gonna be slightly more expensive. But the sets, all those sets, they are pretty cheap. So the whole set to replace the front bearing, the inner part of the alternator, and also brushes, I think this is like cost of £12. So it's not really expensive. So anyway, let's start with doing this. So the first step that we're gonna do is gonna be to disconnect the battery. So for those of you that doesn't know where is the car battery, this is on the back of your car. You have to remove the cover, which is covering it, in the boot on the back of your car, and then you just have to disconnect this one. And then by disconnecting this one, you're cutting off the power for the car. But put this somewhere on side, so this is not gonna by any accident jump back and just touch the clamp. Then from the front of the car, you have to remove the cover, so just pull this up, and the cover is removed. And the alternator is located here. So the first step, what you will have to do, it's, I will say, disconnect the screw. And then there is a connector that you just pressing the button here, you see, and this will unlock it, so you're removing it. And then you have to untie this screw and take this out. You see, this is a plus. So by any chances, if you will leave this and this will touch any part of the body, you can cause short circuit. So that's why this is the reason why you have to disconnect the battery first. Now to release the belt, what you have to do is here, if you can see, this is the puller. So you have to put the key 16 and then just pull it, push it in this direction, and this will allow you to release the belt. And then it's good if you got some support, someone can help you to drop the belt off the alternator. So as you can see, this is the second one, not the first. And also maybe I would recommend to take the picture or draw how those belts goes, so you're not gonna make mistake when you're pulling them back, because that's the worst, that, you know, like trying to find out which way it go. So take the photo of that before you will start removing it, and this will definitely help you make life easier when you put this back. Then when the belt is off, you have to untie this screw and the bottom one, and they are size 16. So after taking them out, the alternator will come out. So then we can start working on it. Now what you have to remember is that the short one go to the top and the long one go to the bottom. So guys, this is alternator out. Now this you see the screw here. So in the previous movie which I've made like years ago, what we did, we cut this screw down. It looks like you don't have to cut it, because this screw is managing the space when you're adding this back to the engine. So this screw, the inner part of it, is moving up and back. So what you need is tool like this one. So you're adding this on the both sides, and then just by tightening the screw, you're pressing this in. So this will just squeeze this in. So this is what you have to do before you're gonna, you know, try to put it back. So add this clamp in, squeeze it, so this will go through all the way through to be, you know, completely flat on this side or this side, doesn't matter, but just completely flat. And then you're gonna be placing this back. So you can start from this if you like. Now the next step gonna be to remove those, and they are size 8. So now when you got the cover gone, we have to remove those screws. So they are size, I think this is 7 or 6. Let's see. This is size 7. So this is size 7. So we have to remove those 3 screws. And after that, this part will come off and you will hear the noise like something jump out from it, because this is gonna be the noise of brushes that will release. So I will show you this in a second. So those 3 gone, and I will lift it. Yeah, there was no noise. But you see, this is those brushes. So when they get too worn out, then basically they stop touching this part, and then your alternator stop charging. So you have to inspect if this is in the good condition or bad condition. So my one is kind of worn out, but it's not really badly, so I will just replace the brushes. If your one is pretty deep and basically doesn't look good, I would recommend to go further and basically replace this part as well. To go further, I'm not gonna make this movie because other people did it and they explained this pretty well. I will put the link to this movie to the description, so basically you can have a look on it. What I will say from myself is that I would recommend to release those. Don't cut them as person on the movie is saying just by cutting it. I would recommend to just put the screwdriver, gently release this and push this out, because if you not disconnect those 3, you just remove the screws. When you put this part out of the alternator, then you pull in this with it. And sadly, this is connected to all those wirings which go below. So you will just destroy the alternator. So those 3 have to be disconnected. But this is if you have to replace the inner part of it. If you're doing just what I'm doing, then you don't have to do that. So anyway, let's progress with what we are doing in this movie. So when this is out, then we have to remove the cover, which is this part. And you can see here, they are wee plastic things. So you see the brush, but before the brush, there is this wee cover, which looks like a circle. So sadly, you will have to break the first one, because I don't see how you can take it out without breaking it. So you'll have to gently break it. And then the second one, which is in the center of it, the center one, I think we'll manage to take out without breaking it. So what you have to do is put the screwdriver, the very small screwdriver here in the small space, and then gently lift it and go underneath of it to get to the first brush, and then put the first brush under the screwdriver and then try to progress further. If you will manage to do this way, then possibly you will manage to not break the plastic cover. But I think if you break the first one, it will be easier, much easier to put it back on the end. So this is what I meant. As you can see, I put the screwdriver, I broke the first one. I will straight away say it, I broke the first one. So the first one is broken. Then I pushed down by the screwdriver the first brush. I went under the second, like a bridge, plastic bridge, and then I pushed down by another screwdriver the second brush. And now, I cannot really do this by one hand, but now when I push the top part, it will come off. And then you push by two hands, not one, because it's, obviously that was tied up for like over 13 years, so it's not gonna be easy to release. So, but anyway, you have to push it off and it will come off. So without the top part, you can see that I didn't have much. Yeah, I know that partially it broke down by pushing this out, but it doesn't really matter because it's okay, it's not gonna be a problem. But you can see that those brushes, not much was really out of the brush, so so they were quite used up. So what we're gonna do now, it's remove this part. So this is just like part of the glue. So what we will have to do, just take it off, and after that we need to use the soldering bolt to release those brushes. If just adding the soldering on the back of it not gonna work, sadly what we will have to do then is gonna be to cut it off and just make this more flat. Now when you have the old brushes gone, as you can see both of them, then you have to add the new brush, like the wiring, through this wee hole, the spring, and get it on the back, and then use the soldering to hold it on this side. So I will say keep it out by, let's say, so much. So when you got the sign, just make like small part of it hanging out. Here you got comparing of the old brush with the new one, so you can see that like nearly half of it was gone. So basically, if you see by the sign, like let's say sign is a half, then basically there was not much life into it. But if this alternator was never ever refreshed, it means that this is what has been worn out by 13 years of driving. From time to time it's good to inspect this just to make sure that it's still okay. So now what you have to do is add the soldering on the both ends, and this will secure the new brushes. Now when you got both of those ends soldered, then what you have to do is use the glue gun just to secure this, so it's not going to be exposed at any point. So you're just taking the glue gun, sorry for that, it's coming off. But anyway, you're taking the glue gun and you're just adding this on those both sides. You're covering it completely, so this will be well secure. So one is that this will be contacting right because you use the soldering, and then the glue on top of it will secure this like for longer time. So there will be no option for any moisture or anything to get through. So just go through from this end all the way through to the other end. So now when this part is secure by the glue, then we can add this in. So I will add this as it is, like that, and then afterwards, when this will be the brushes will be secure against the inner core of the alternator, then I will just slide this in to secure this like to the end. And then after that you have to start putting back the screws. So it's gonna be size 7, then we adding the cover which we took out, and then we adding remaining 3 screws, and the alternator is assembled. So with this bottom screw which I mentioned that you have to pull back, you see this one on other end, the alternator easily will come in. So this will come in all the way through. Then you're adding the big screw, the long one on the bottom, the smaller one on the top. Again, the tensioner you have to push in back, and then someone ideally will help you to put the engine belt back to the alternator. Then afterwards you are connecting back the connector, you're putting back the plus to this side, and you tightening the screw, and then afterwards reconnecting the battery, and the job is done. So this is pretty easy task. The hardest part is actually to remove the old brushes, but when it's done, then everything goes very easily. And by doing this task this way, you can extend the lifetime of your alternator and just have one thing to worry less about your car. So I hope you enjoy the movie and will be useful for you.